Welcome to Art Television, another trailblazing story of Sri Lankans who have conquered the world. We're sat very comfortably today in the very plush offices of the chairman of IWS, Mr. Arthur Senanayake himself. We're going to talk to him about his journey and pathway through life. Arthur, thank you very much indeed. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Your office is splendid. It's been a long journey for you, and we'd like to go right back to the start of Arthur Senanayake setting out on what has been a remarkable story.
Well, I started 1980 when, prior to that, I was working abroad. I was working as a technical engineer. When the government changed in 1976, and everybody asked me to go back to Sri Lanka because they said the economy is getting better, open economy, etc.
Things are changing.
This was due to change. So, one of my bosses at that time, German guy, and he said, look, I've been into Sri Lanka for regatta, and it's a beautiful country, why don't you go? I thought twice about this because I was young, I got a good salary, I have my own apartment, I have my car.
You started a life separately.
In Singapore.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come here because I was not sure whether it's the same old way, the nationalization and all kind of queues and for the food and all these
things. You remember, the bad things.
I can remember bad days because when I came on holiday, sometimes even I had to bring dal.
The hard things.
Yes.
Very
dal.
hard days for us.
Exactly. So I opted off actually, but however, my boss told me, just go and have a look at it.
So,
I said,
so
okay.
there wasn't a firm plan, it was just...
No plan whatsoever, absolutely no plan. So I came on a holiday for 1 month, decided, I took some catalogs with me, decided to come to Sri Lanka and look around.
So you were revisiting your older places and home and
yeah,
familiar?
No, I didn't tell anybody I am coming because they were not expected me to come anyway.
Okay.
And for me, going out of the country as a young age, I thought I will never come back.
It was a very hard decision to take.
Yes. So the reason I came back because of my boss told me, please go and have a look at it. And in fact, when I got into the flight, I was thinking what I'm going to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know anybody in Sri Lanka.
And you weren't planning to go home either?
No. So in the flight, I was thinking, okay, if I go to start work, if I go to start a company, I have to find the talent that I don't have. Because as an engineer, I always put my heart and soul and a lot of physical
hard work.
So I didn't have the skill of expressing myself and convincing
others.
So I thought the best thing is employ somebody who had a big mouth.
Okay.
See,
so a simple story.
Very simple. So that he can talk and I can show the work. Because I'm a person who I believe common sense and hard work. These two is the, I could say, game changer if anybody's life.
Your guiding principles, your pillars in life.
Yes, correct. So when I came back, of course, started looking around. I met a gentleman who worked at CTV, and he spoke very good English, and he had a long hair. That was a disadvantage on my side because in Singapore, I flew into Singapore, and then they have a lot of discipline. And at that time, I remember you can't even have a long hair people enter into the country.
They had rules, very strict rules.
Very strict rules at the time. So when I talked to him, I said, if you want to have a job with me, first go and have a haircut and see me tomorrow morning. So didn't come for 2 days, but meanwhile I check into then Oberoi. I had few dollars in my hand.
Okay. I was going to say, how many dollars did you come back with?
I had $500 in my hand.
Okay.
And that time it was about just almost $70, $80 a room.
The rupee was strong.
Yes. And after 4 days, my money went down. So I decided to find somewhere else. Then I found a place in Mount Lavinia, small house,
Okay.
and I started the business because my parents were in Gaul and they were still not here. They didn't know that I have come.
Come back.
Yeah.
So this is all Arthur Senanayake coming back to Sri Lanka, discovering Sri Lanka again in a way, after all the changes, and then making a decision or taking a risk in a way. Was it a risk or did you feel comfortable?
No, it was not a risk at all because I am on 1 month holiday.
Okay.
It doesn't.
So it doesn't work out.
It doesn't work out. I go back. So 1 month passed. Of course, I couldn't find much hope here. Went back. Then I talked to my immediate boss and I said, "Look, I think I'll take a challenge and I go back." He asked me, "Do you have money?" I said, "No." "All right. Go there. I'll give some catalogs because I'm good on sales of machine tools."
Okay.
And so I came back, decided to come back. So I had a Volkswagen and my dog, my things what I have. I shipped everything
From Singapore.
from Singapore.
So now you're arriving again in Sri Lanka.
Now again arriving in Sri Lanka. And my boss said, "Okay, I'll come and meet that guy whom you met earlier." So we met in a hotel somewhere in, if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the old hotels, a small little boutique hotel in Dickmans Road. So we had a discussion and set up what we want to do. During that, I thought this is again a trial because
Okay.
again, if it fails, I can go back because I had a good job. I did a
Still the insurance.
I had insurance. So I brought a car for my father, a Mercedes. That was about a year before.
That would have been a very pleasant surprise.
Yes. And I borrowed the car because I didn't have a vehicle until other vehicle comes back, shipped back to Colombo. So my office was at the back of the car, all my catalogs, everything, and I start driving the car. This was actually end of November 1979. I went to CGR and they looked at me and said, I was wearing a tie, I had a cross pen.
Very sharp.
Yeah, and then he was asking, what can I do for you? I said, look, I am here to see whether you need some machinery. What kind of machinery you can supply? He said, any machine tools? Then he said, in fact, we want some machinery. We have a budget, but this is end of November. But you have to deliver the machine before end of the year. Otherwise, the money goes back to treasury.
It's a good timing.
It's good timing. And I asked, what is the machine? So it was a machine, 2 wheel turning lathes. And this machine was, so I had the catalog and I showed, he said, oh, this is good enough. This was about $250,000.
The first deal.
First deal, not a deal yet.
Not
So
yet.
I told him, look, we have the machine. Can you deliver before 31st December? I said, not possible. I said, why? Because if you don't buy, if you don't pay you, the money goes back to treasury. I said, okay, how about if I give a bank guarantee and you pay me? He said, he will talk to the ministry and come back. Next day he called me back and said, look, this is okay, as long as you can deliver by March, but you have to give a bank guarantee, I'll transfer the money. So that's my first deal.
How did that feel?
Well, at that time I got $10,000
There's a lot of money.
on that deal, because my boss said, okay, whatever the money you earn from this, we don't want anything, you take it.
Good boss.
This is your seed money. So, of course, I will only get the money after the delivery, but he gave me, at that time, 25,000 Deutschmark
Okay.
as an advance. So, thereafter, of course, I thought I'm not going to go back.
Your mind had changed completely now.
Yes. So, I started a company called Germania, because it's with the Germans.
Okay.
I got a couple of agencies. Of course, originally I tried to sell anything and everything. I tried to sell bus ticket, toilet rolls, everything to survive.
So it was not on an easy path at all. It was a very hard
It's
road.
very hard, because I didn't know exactly what is necessary here, and I also knew that everything is imported here. So wherever I go and I say if I can sell something, I try to quote from Singapore or from Germany or somewhere.
And Sri Lanka was just opening up in that sense.
Yes, they have a open general license for many of those things. Earlier it was been, I could say, license items or exchange control items, control items. So, but later, what happened? I tried to do anything and everything, but then I specialized on certain things.
On that note, sir, we are watching Game Changers on RTV. And this is with Arthur Senanayake himself, the founder of the company, and how he started the hard road. It wasn't easy, but it all came good in the end. It's all about coming back to Sri Lanka and his belief and his strength and his motivation to stay here in Sri Lanka itself. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, a lot more about his journey. Welcome back to our television and Game Changers. We are with the chairman himself, talking about his journey through life and arrival back in Sri Lanka. It wasn't easy, as he explained, but of course it meant that his strength and courage and belief in Sri Lanka was a starting point. You are now in Sri Lanka. You have come back. You started with anything and everything, and then of course the first deal with the CGR, and things started to happen.
Yes, then of course I was looking for a place to start office. I tried for about 3-4 weeks to find a place, but by the time I go, everything is gone.
So now this is Arthur Senanayake, money in hand, a little bit stronger, setting up his business.
Yes, correct. Because at that time, I can remember they said that most of the houses, they said only for foreigners. They are only given to foreigners. So when I went in, and for 3 weeks I was almost every morning. But then somebody told me, look, if you wanted to go and hunt for houses, you go to Peta bus stand and get the newspaper day before, Sunday newspaper, Sunday Observer. So I went.
And look in the want ads.
Yeah, Saturday midnight I went. Then I have jotted down exactly what some of the places. I was the first to go by about 5:30, 6 o'clock, even that time. So I went to a place in Pepin Lane, in a small little lane. So I went in a Mercedes-Benz, there was an old uncle who was sitting down outside smoking a cigar.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. He asked me, young man, what are you looking for? I said, uncle, there's an advertisement. There's a house on rent. I asked, he said, yeah, son, this is house. I said, this house? No, not this house. This is my daughter's house. That house. So I look at, and there was a big house end of the road. I thought that house. I said, this house is too big. No, son, that's not that house. The house I'm going to build, the next door, I'm renting it out. And it was there was a lot of, it's a small little banana plantation.
Okay.
On Pepin Lane. And
it was all belonged to him.
it belongs to him. It's about 20, 30 purchase. He said, this is where I'm going to build the house, I'm renting it out. Then since I have been quite fed up with looking for houses for about nearly 1.5 months, I said, uncle, I'll take it. I'll take this house.
But no house there though?
No house there. There's only banana plantation. And then I sat down with him. I said, explain to me that you have a house here. No, son, I have done all these things. I have done all the plans. I can build this house and give it to you within 3 months. Then I told him, look, how about if I build the house? He said, okay. So we made an arrangement. And I went to the best lawyers even that time.
Okay.
Because since I was not sure of the law of the country. So
Didn't have any friends?
No friends, so I went to FJ&D Serums. So they made an agreement to build a house. So the old man said, okay, no problem. He has a contractor, everything, so I gave at that time 500,000 rupees. And
a lot of money.
A lot of money at that time, but within 3 months, I realized that we have done up to the slab within 3 months. So I decided to move my office. Upstairs was not built, but only downstairs. So myself, I had a secretary and an office boy.
So just the three of you?
3 of us. Then, of course,
Well, this is in a partly built office?
Yeah, partly built office. And I stayed in one room. The other 2 rooms were one is office, one is living room was my showroom.
Okay.
So we started importing machinery, small machinery like canning making machinery, can seaming machinery. And actually my boss helped me a lot because they gave me a consignment stock.
That would have been a very big help.
Yeah, 1 or 2 things.
So this is your Singaporean boss?
German boss who is in Singapore.
Okay.
So we imported the equipment in. So my first machine, I sold it to Akbar Brothers. And Akbar Brothers also at that time, a small company. They were in Gold Road in Kolpiti.
It would have been a very interesting time in Sri Lanka with companies like you and Akbar Brothers, you were saying they're so big now.
Yes.
Just setting up. This is the seed companies now, just starting up to blossom.
Yes, correct. So in fact, Mr. Abbas himself talked to me. I said, look, this is the machine, and they wanted to can tea. And he had a look at it. He said, yes, you show me how it works. So we managed to take the machine to the premises, and I installed the machine.
Okay.
And he said, pretty good, and he paid immediately the money.
Satisfied customer.
Satisfied customer. Then thereafter we also start selling tea bag machinery, roaming. So I still can remember I went to Station. Station was in front of Oberoi. There was an old house.
The old Gold Road.
Old Gold Road, colonial house, old house. That's where the station was. And I talked to them and convinced that they should buy tea bagging machines. And this machine, again, I installed in the store somewhere in Maradana, I can remember. And that's the machine which still, it is in the front of the station main office.
As a flagship machine.
Flagship machine, yes. So I installed the machine. I can remember they bought about 4, 5, 6 machines. And that's the connection that I have with Mr. Hari Javadana, Mr. Alif, etc. because they knew that if I say something, I do it.
You deliver.
Yeah, I deliver. And my relationship with Mr. Javadana and the Sasson Group very strong even today.
Excellent. It's a wonderful, inspiring story. But for Arthur, sitting down with all this starting to happen now, you're starting to believe in Sri Lanka, you're starting to believe in yourself a lot more, the business is setting up. The direction for this, you were planning to expand, or you wanted to be strong and solid, or you wanted to have bigger, better?
I wanted to take the challenge. I was looking for challenge.
Okay. But you've always been that, though. You've always
Yes.
been...
My first challenge is to get a telephone, because it was very, very difficult to get a telephone. I went a couple of times to telecom. They
The
said,
system, the old system.
old system. And they said, sorry, it's not possible to get a phone. If you want to get a phone, you have to pay 5,000 rupees. I said, I'm not going to pay 5,000 rupees. I didn't have that kind of money. And in that case, you have to wait at 4 o'clock in the morning. You have to wait and queue.
Stand in line.
Yes, and the Lotus Road. So I went there, sat down, and I went about 5:30. There were already 4 or 5 people in front of me. Sharp at 8:30, gentleman looked at me and went into the room, and he was none other than Mr. Ashoka Gunasekara. He was the Secretary Telecom.
Okay.
When my turn came, he saw me. I was a bit different to the others because I was young and I dressed well.
Very sharply dressed.
Yes, and he asked me, young man, how long you have been waiting? I said, sir, I have been here from 5:30. Then he said, why you are here? I said, I want a telephone. I came from abroad and I want to start my business. He said, you take a seat and I have a cup of tea. It's too early for me to call the engineer to find out how to help you. So I had a cup of tea, half an hour, 1 hour later.
It's remarkably helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. And he called one Mr. Handy and told him that I am sending this young man. Please see how you can help him to get a telephone. So he sent his peon with me to go and see Mr. Handy. When I went there and I sat down, he looked at me and said, sorry, it's not possible because we don't have loops. Then again I walked back and I said, waited another half an hour. He saw me, called me, said, what happened? I said, no. He said, no loops. He took the phone and said, if it's no loops, give him a spare. And some or other fix him a phone today. It was very encouraging at that time.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And I thought that day, one day, I will start a telecommunication company.
An instant thought that you then gave life to many years ago. How did that happen? I mean, from that initial story of not being given a telephone and Ashoka being able to help you as much, but still no joy, the thought of a mobile phone was born in your mind.
Yes. And then that's how I started Celtel. And again, quite astonishing.
And you were the first mobile
First
company.
mobile company, and I had a lot of difficulties at that time starting this company because the union thought this is the beginning of privatization.
So massive opposition.
Massive opposition. They kept me for nearly 7-8 hours outside before speak to telecommunication engineer, Mr. Gunawardana. He kept me for 8 hours outside.
But you were still very patient. You knew
I was
this.
patient, and then meanwhile in fact, how that happened was, it's also quite funny, because I met another friend of mine, and I said, can you introduce me to the telecommunication minister?
There's a lot of public relations going on.
Yes, so I got to know this guy, and then he said, okay. He called his father, and then father said, okay, you can go at 6 o'clock. So two of us went to see Mr. Vijayatunga. He said, yes, why you two young guys are here for it? So my friend said, Arthur wants to start a cellular company, mobile phone company. He immediately said, look, we are a poor company, we have no money. Forget about it. I said, sir, this is a phone that you can carry. Oh, I used this phone before when I was in Sweden. I went on a invitation on Ericsson, and they gave me one of the phones, and I used this phone. So I know this phone. Then I said, sir, this it's not the government, and I have the money. I will start it.
It's a private company.
Private company. So he asked me to come the next day to the office. But prior to that, when I was flying from London to Singapore, I met a gentleman. His name is Thorsten Press, and he was the chairman of Comviq International, who owned the first cellular company in Europe. He was next to me.
Sitting next to you on the flight?
In the flight, on the first class. So by that time I had earned some money.
You were confident?
I am confident. I was flying on first class. And then this guy was smoking cigar. And it's really annoying because those days they smoked.
Yeah.
So I told, sir, can you please stop smoking? You know,
it's bothering me.
It's bothering me because he's smoking. Then after some time I got very angry. Once he kept the cigar on the side, I took it and I crushed it. And he looked at me, he said, why did you do that? I said, I told you, I don't like smoking. If you want to smoke, you can go behind and smoke. This is first class. If you don't like, you go back to economy, he said. So some or other, a steward came in and sorted out this thing, and then he asked, from where are you? I said, from Sri Lanka. He said, oh, I'm trying to start a cellular company for a long time in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
But we have no chance.
Remarkable. So
yeah, I said,
look, stub cigar.
Yes. I said, why don't you...
But you didn't know he was the chairman of...
No, I didn't know at all. So then he said, okay, he explained to me. I said, what is cellular? I don't know what is cellular. So he asked whether I have books. So I had my diary. I took my bag and I put my diary. He drove actually 2 towers and a little car. He said, when you drive from one area to the other area, you can, there will be transmission, and you can
speak.
You can have a mobile
and communicate.
Phone. So it was very interesting, and then he also drew some cellulars, like a beehives. These are cellulars. So that's all what I knew about it. So what happened, this was in my mind. That's all what I knew about cellular phone.
On that note, so I'm going to stop you for a little bit. You're talking to Mr. Arthur Senanayake on Game Changers and his remarkable story about how cellular phones arrived in Sri Lanka and how he met up with the chairman of then pioneering companies. This is Game Changers on our television. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, cellular phones, mobile technology, expansion, the agencies, and the arrival of IWS in more ways than one. Welcome back to Game Changers on our television, and a delightful conversation with Mr. Senanayake, whose pioneering efforts set up Sri Lanka with his first mobile company. And then, of course, from beyond that, the IWS story is a remarkable story in itself. I suppose, Arthur, you have to look at the timing of things that happen. You believe in karma, or you believe in things. It's remarkable how these things fell into place, and you were sitting on a flight. You get angry, it starts off from there, and now you're established. You've set up your business in Sri Lanka. The initial risk of coming back home is now wiped out, and you are now firmly established. You've got an office. IWS blossoms.
Then, of course, we established the cellular company well. And as you know, it's the first cellular company, and thereafter, on communication side, we had the first trunk radio system.
You started the revolution.
Yes, first trunk radio system, because at that time, anybody who want to have a walkie-talkie, they have to give a frequency. Then I have explained to the government here, and then the frequency is very valuable thing. Therefore, collectively, I can give to many people with few frequencies, where the sharing of frequencies. So I started the first trunking system in Southeast Asia.
Wow.
And with the Motorola system.
I was going to say Motorola would have been very pleased about that.
Yes, they want to join venture with us, but later I decided to take it my own. On communication side, then we also started the first paging system in Sri Lanka. There had been a paging system before, but it was very primitive, and so we did so we did the paging system with the callback basis. Thereafter, of course.
So you've gone from machinery now straight into communication.
Communication.
And you are flying.
I'm flying into a high tech, I could say. Then I went into start the art television.
Okay.
It's called as Dynavision. At that time, I met Ted Turner and Jane Fonda, and
the owners of CNN, of course.
Owner of CNN, and I said, why don't we have a CNN in Sri Lanka? So I said, look, I'm going to start if you give me the franchise. So
to this day, you're one of the only franchise holders in the world.
It's under CNN, yes, almost 30 years. At that time, CNN owned Cartoon Network. So we had Cartoon Network, CNN, as well as we have also the old channels of the Warner Brothers.
So now you're a flagship television company,
yes,
in addition to your communication.
Yes, and
it fits.
We are the first people who had the stereo, color stereo broadcast. While we were establishing this, then of course at the beginning it was difficult to get finances actually, because originally wherever I go to the bank, they ask, who are you?
So you're not getting much support from the local banking system?
We didn't get much support.
Okay.
Finally...
so that must have been a bit frustrating as well.
It was very frustrating actually, and then, but I had my friend in Singapore, he became my friend, my boss became my friend, and he also loved to come to Sri Lanka. And so I went bank to bank, and finally I went to commercial bank. I made an appointment with Mr. Gunatunga. At that time, he gave me an appointment lunchtime, and he was there. He was very relaxed, put his legs up, and with his pipe and his thing, he said, he asked me, young man, what do you want? I said, sir, I came to open an account. Why you want to open an account? I said, I want to import fertilizer. What is the value of fertilizer? I said, about $5 million. He took his legs down and said, how old are you? I said, I'm 28.
And the pipe would have come out of his mouth as well.
And who's your father? I said, my father is in Gaul. You have any asset here? I said, no. So how can I open an LC for $5 million? You have order? I said, yes, I have order. Then he said, okay, if you can give me some collateral, we will do this.
But you had no collateral at the time?
At that time, I had no collateral. But of course, I studied the business.
Okay.
I said, if you import, 50% is government subsidy. And so I spoke to my boss and said, look, there's a
Opportunity.
scarcity of fertilizer here in NPK 515-15, at that time called Madapohora.
Okay.
And he said, okay, not a problem, that we will guarantee you.
So it was a calculated risk?
Calculated risk, but we got 50% from the government, and they are prepared to give a guarantee for me the balance 50%, $2.5 million.
Okay.
And I imported the fertilizer, and I got 6 months credit. At that time, interest was very high. So I had the cash with me, and I sold everything from the ship.
On board?
On board ship. I only took the sweeping back to my warehouse. I didn't even have a warehouse, actually. I think I sold it to somebody.
Okay.
So that was my first fertilizer business. And at that time, but it was a bit of a difficult time for me to convince. It was not that easy to get that $5 million LC.
But you didn't give up? You knew?
I didn't give up. At that time, I thought one day I will start a bank.
Like the cellular company, same thought?
Same thought.
Out of need?
Yeah. And then that's how I became one of the founder members of Sampat Bank, and age of 30, and I had a substantial shares because it's only 50 million was the capital
The requirement?
Requirement at that time. So, so I joined the board. I'm the youngest, and still the living director of Sampat Bank. Now I am the chairman of Sampat Center.
A conglomerate now?
Yes, it's Sampat Center owns the asset of the Sampat Bank.
So all of these remarkable stories are based on firm principle and risk in your own mind, belief in your system.
Calculated risks.
And you being a very proud Sri Lankan still, you never thought otherwise.
Yes, I believe that there's a lot of potential here. If you do the right thing in the right way, in a very clear way. You see, I feel very sorry for people here. They take shortcuts. Even today, if you wanted to buy something, give a contract, many people are not prepared to give a bank guarantee for the advance payment guarantee. And if you don't give advance payment guarantee, definitely I could say 80% sure that they will not deliver the goods. So they're taking shortcuts, young people. And I would like to tell these people, you know, you have to be, whatever you do it in full heart.
Your simple principle in life has always been work hard and back yourself and do the right thing.
Do the right thing, yes. I brought the BMW here when it comes to...
I was going to say now, from the bank,
yes,
the expansion was rapid.
yes. Then we did the BMW, and then of course, after BMW, we are now franchised for the Porsche. And recently we got the Volvo, and we are doing very well with the Volvo.
What was the latest arrival?
Latest arrival, and the next is going to be Bentley.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be rolling out this year.
So Bentley in Sri Lanka?
In Sri Lanka, yes.
Absolute class.
Yes.
History?
History, yes.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
And your journey from the $500 you came with and looking for a place to suddenly being the most established and Bentley arrives.
Yes.
How does that happen?
Well, I want to give something value for money for people. If you see why somebody wearing a Rolex, it's a statesmanship. If you have money, no point of putting the money in your closet. And you have
Worked hard for it.
Work hard for it. I think it's important that you also have a statesmanship. I mean, if you see a Rolex watch and a Swatch, I believe Swatch will give a better timing.
I think so.
Yeah, but if somebody asks, oh, you have a Porsche, you have a Bentley, there's no roads in Sri Lanka, it's a statesmanship.
It's what is possible.
It's, yeah, you're proud of having it. Yeah. So from there, of course, as you know, that we also started the aviation business. So we have 2 helicopters now, Airbus helicopters, and we are hoping to expand this. And we are the first company to have a private aerodrome. Right now it is, we are under construction. By end of February, we'll have a aerodrome in Velisada. That means we can park our helicopters,
Your own,
helicopters, as well as people can buy helicopters
and park them there.
and parked in our place, and we are a MRO that we can service these helicopters, we can look after the helicopters, and the owner doesn't have to bother. This is of course at a fee,
Of course.
and they don't have to employ
Separate staff and
separate
engineers.
staff, the pilots, engineers, because to own one helicopter you need about 25 people.
Okay.
Because this is controlled by the government from the CAA. It's all had to be qualified and very scared to get these people.
So you
let's
will
say,
cut through all that.
yeah, so if you want to buy a helicopter, you can buy from me. I can put your name on
Fabulous.
and park in my place
And where is that?
whenever you want. Half an hour before, you said, look, Arthur, I want to go to Trincomalee. Can you take my helicopter out?
Get it ready, service.
It's
and
ready and service.
Fueled and up to go.
Everything.
So you have gone now from a little Volkswagen to Bentley and to helicopters. Unbelievable. All of this was you personally believing in yourself and wanting a better way of life in Sri Lanka, of course.
Yes. And of course, not forgetting that I started the first NOL business here 25 years ago. And again at that time, when I became the Honorary Trade Consul for Government of Singapore here for 10 years. During that time, I asked Singapore government whether they would like to bring their motherships to Sri Lanka. It was not possible because of the drought. The draft is not enough. So I talked to then President Mr. Premadasa, Excellency Premadasa, and then at that time he said, you bring your ships, I'll make sure that the draft is okay, which he didn't know exactly what he's talking about.
He just didn't make it happen.
Yeah, but he made it happen within 3 months.
Great belief.
Yeah. And he got this company called Royal Boskalis to come and dredge it. Within 3 months, we brought our motherships. And that company, NOL, become APL. Recently, I have sold my shares to Halis, this company.
What would be a fabulous story?
It's a fantastic because we brought all the motherships here, but I'm still the chairman of APL Logistics.
Okay.
It's a logistic company worldwide. So we have gone into different businesses on different time.
It is a story of remarkable content. It's almost like a script. But you, Arthur, as a person, apart from all of the energy and the drive, and health and wellness is a very important part of your life. You maintain that strictly all the time.
Yes, correct. I'm very careful about what I eat, actually. I don't take too much fatty things, not too much sugar. Sugar is I think, worse than smoking, taking sugar. And then sugar become fat become, it's basically poison, you take every sugar. So
It's a vicious cycle.
Yes, and then I also do every day about 5 to 7 kilometers of jogging, wherever I go.
That's maintained.
Yes. Now I am here in Sri Lanka for about 5 to 6 days, and the balance I'm in Singapore for another 6 days. Balance I travel. Wherever I go, I make sure that I do my
Your workout.
workout. It's a ritual.
Your calories are burned at the right time
Yes.
and petrol is maintained.
Yes.
And that's a belief that you have carried from day one.
Yes, absolutely.
Amongst all of the things that you have done, and the pride for Sri Lanka in pioneering and trailblazing business and setting up the example for everyone else to follow, you have always been very humble about it and kept your head very low to the ground. Has that been one of your assets?
I think it's a natural growth. It's like a mango tree. Whether you have one mango or 100 tree doesn't feel that it's heavy. It's a natural growth. I didn't get from sky. That's why you don't see me traveling with 5-6 security guards. Even when I was the chairman of the Sampath Bank. No, I didn't, and I don't want.
It's still the same.
I walk on the road.
I have the freedom to do that.
If my car is not there, I take the tuk-tuk. So I don't feel the difference. It was up to the matter until I achieve that I work hard into that. I want to get helicopters, I work very hard. After I got the helicopter, it's just like,
What next?
it's nothing for me. It's helicopter, so what? So I think it is for me is always a trailblazer on challenges.
Arthur, in all of these things, you've been very firm in belief, strength, wellness, you maintain that. But you are also very strong with family. And that has been another strength for you. It has not wavered at all.
Yes, I'm very happy actually because Anika and my 2 daughters has followed me very well, and then of course I'm very happy to have a good son-in-law, Dimitri, and they are all with me right now and they are following me, and they are young. I believe that they will also take good part of my experience.
Good instincts as well.
Instincts, well, yeah. Because I also want to tell for young people to have patience. It's not a cellular phone, it's not a computer. Don't expect results immediately. You have to have patience.
Work hard.
Work hard and have patience.
A good plan.
Yes.
And the risk is based on all of that.
Yes, and common sense.
Very big part of that.
Yes.
But your journey has been remarkable in every sense of the word, given the timing, given the strength, given the dealings you've had with government and officials and red tape. You got through all of that, but you've been very humble about it.
Yes, I believe I always think ahead before I take a step forward, and always I strike at the right time. And I hardly do government business, it's mostly private business. But an infrastructure side and the government I have helped tremendously. And then government and present government, they help us to get more advice on the infrastructure projects and things like that.
And going forward, you are now firmly established and looking forward to the future, and you believe Sri Lanka is the place.
I believe Sri Lanka is the place because we have almost 2.5 billion people other side of the country, and we are also like a pivot between east and west, and we have to have a very strong political
Base.
established political base here, like in Singapore.
Inspiring confidence.
Yes. I think we all have to make sure that we have compliance, and from leaders all the way down to everybody has compliance so that we can take this country forward.
On that note, sir, thank you very much indeed. It was remarkable, wonderful indeed. There you have it, the man himself, Mr. Senanayake, talking about his fabulous, intrepid journey from very humble beginnings to what he is now. And for all of us in Sri Lanka, the arrival of Bentley and helicopters means that life has begun.